Hello, thanks TikTok. Thanks TikTok. Thanks everybody for being here. And thanks for helping end war. Let's not let this war start. I mean, it's already been a start of it, but let's keep it from really getting started and turning into something terrible that everyone will regret. And people usually regret war anyway, but we can stop this war. We have the power in our hands with our phones. Thanks for being here. And I can explain how everybody can help, how smart people can help, how magical people can help. Leave a comment if you're smart or magical, or just tap the screen if you're just everybody. Basically, we just have to expose what they're trying to do so that they don't get away with, hello, oh hey, nice to meet you, or nice to see you. They don't get away with this plan, because it's very obviously a plan, and it's very concerning that all the very obvious signs of it haven't been kind of reported and interpreted that way. So for me, there's 5 or 6 really obvious signs so far that it's a plan. One is the intelligence failure, which just initially just didn't make any sense. Just seemed like a total lie to say we didn't see this coming. From the Israeli perspective, because they have a really sophisticated intelligence agency, is my understanding. And then America too. I was making videos, within hours of the attacks, that what did we move all our wiretapping from Hamas to Black Lives Matter? Because we do a lot of that, and every bit of it's a waste. Everything we do to infiltrate and divert Black Lives Matter protests is, first of all, a diversion from people that they would otherwise be monitoring. But no, they didn't just happen to be monitoring the only guys that Hamas left behind, that left out of the plot. No, they knew about it. They knew about it from their own intelligence, just because our intelligence works that way. Like, they know about a lot of stuff. And Israel too. And that was just my initial instinct from the beginning of the thing. Then, we stop it. Okay, we stop it just by talking about this. If you have, since you're an intelligent person who's into stuff, just put out a quick video about any of these ideas, for instance, that resonate with you in your own words, how you think about this kind of stuff. To me, the clearest sign is that they didn't stop it. Like, they claim to have not had the intelligence when they did. Now, more on that in just a second, but I'm just kind of going through the course of events. Well, you saw my video. Just that they didn't stop it, and they didn't stop it initially with intelligence, and then they didn't move to stop it. They didn't counter the attack, which is ridiculous. They said that I heard people from the rave saying that they were there for hours, and in those hours, it doesn't take hours to get there, but there was no, and I don't even know if anybody ever eventually helped them, if the people just left. But there didn't seem to be what you would expect of a response, and cool. So you can help. What you need to do is expose the people in the CIA who know about all these things, but are part of it, instead of, if you're one of the good ones, I assume, expose your colleagues, whistleblow on your colleagues, get that whole organization and the FBI completely turned out. Because, okay, for instance, this is one of the reasons I'm so suspicious of the Netanyahu story in the first place. It's because I just recently heard on the radio hours of, I didn't hear all of the hours of recordings, but I heard that they have hours of recordings from the FBI agents, who infiltrated Black Lives Matter here in Denver. This guy, he's not an FBI agent, but the FBI hired him. He's a plant that the FBI sent to Denver Black Lives Matter, driving around in a hearse filled with weapons. Like, in case anybody wants any weapons to be violent, I got them for you. And he just did this on a regular basis. And they had recordings of him meeting with the leadership, trying to encourage them to do, this is an FBI plant, trying to encourage them to do violence. Now, why do they do this? Well, because they infiltrate all sorts of groups. They probably infiltrated Hamas. So if you're following me on this, they probably orchestrated this entire thing, because they're like that. It's what they do. It's your dang job. If you're actually from the CIA, troll in the comments. It's your job, and you should turn in your colleagues if you want to be an actual American, because once we get the information out there, we'll be catching y'all. We'll be investigating the FBI. will be turning y'all out, so you might as well be on the good side of that, start exposing it and blowing the whistle. And there's one or two good FBI agents out there and CIA agents, I'm sure, who know very well exactly what I'm talking about and could do something about it. But we all can do something about it no matter what role we have or whatever we want to do. All we have to do is talk about it. Now, if you're a magical person, we can talk about things from a magical perspective. But just a smart person, we can talk about it in comments, or even if you're just anybody, you can just tap the screen or talk about these things. So I appreciate you talking to me about it, or talking with me about it. Now, as far as Netanyahu orchestrating this in order to gain political support and have an excuse to destroy Gaza or whatever, like, it looks like he's getting his way right now. It looks like that's what they're going to do. But it's all his plan. And as soon as people treat it that way, just like as soon as we treat Trump as he's trying to overthrow/destroy America, we'll stop him. Like, we just have to actually call it out, talk about it for what it is, and we can end all of their power. Now, once we stop Netanyahu, we'll stop Putin, because you can show that you can do it. I don't know what oh, see, that doesn't, yeah, like, information works better. All these people with lots of weapons, those guys are just going to be weapons caches in the world to come if it comes to anything like that. But it doesn't have to. You can do things with ideas and words, and peace beats war. Like, the idea of peace, the idea of we can prevent war, beats war. War is really a bad... Okay, for instance, Putin amassed all his forces on the borders of Ukraine. Everybody knew he was about to invade, and he was, no, I'm not about to invade. And then he did. Now, he could have not invaded. He could have just gone with what he said he was doing. I'm just amassing forces on the border for no real reason. Oh, Church of Judas replaces all patriarchy Christianity. If you know any Christians, let them know about that. Gospel of Judas Revealed 2006. I wrote the book of Judas about it, and you can see some more information on my content on my channel. But anyway, back to Russia. So, if he'd not invaded, we wouldn't have had the no big problem. It's like no big deal. It would have been a military exercise. He would have had forces on the border. Right now, that's what they have in Israel: forces on the border. If they don't invade, that would be okay. Invading is a really big problem. The best way to keep them from invading is just exposing Netanyahu's role in all of this. So, final thing, although I guess you saw the video, Egypt apparently, according to I think a U.S. government official, Egypt warned them 3 days in advance. So they had advance warning. They knew what was happening. They didn't really move to stop it, which in my mind is all. There's only one explanation for that. Is they wanted it as bad as possible, or not they, but Netanyahu and his regime, his allies, wanted it as bad as possible in order to start a war. And that's, suspicious. Calling it our 9/11 is suspicious. And it's just wrong in general. Like, even if none of this other stuff applied, it's wrong to say that, because you're disrespecting people's memory and tragedy, and trying to gain sympathy off the backs of something else. And conflating things in just a dangerous and bad way. No, you can see that one is an actual sleeping cap. And I have one of those somewhere. This is some more awake cap. This is the cap I used for a show called Antifa News Briefa that I mostly did on YouTube. But basically, yeah, we can stop the war. Just have to expose Netanyahu, which anyway, whatever you respond to most. To me, it's 6 different things. The lack of intelligence, the lack of response, well, underlying all of this, just being such a tyrant in the first place to push people in Palestine and Gaza to violence in the first place. That he's responsible for that. And there's plenty of people in Israel who criticize him for that, who if they'd gotten their way, it wouldn't have happened like this. So there's all of that. But then there's ignoring or just pretending you didn't get the message from Egypt 3 days earlier, apparently, that you apparently fabricate evidence about what they did in order to gain more sympathy. All of those things are pretty clear signs that you're just lying. And it's very Trumpy, it's very Putin-y. And of course, Putin supports Iran. But if Putin's kind of working both sides of it, and somehow people don't realize that, like terrible atrocity to Gaza is going to be the result of it if Netanyahu gets his way. Um, to me, that's again back to the FBI infiltrating Black Lives Matter here in America. Not only does that take them away from people that they really should be paying attention to, but it shows what they do. It's not that it's not just that they infiltrated them to spy on them. They were trying to encourage them towards violence. Or like the people that were going to kidnap the governor of Minnesota, one of those states up there. Um, Thanks. Happy birthday to you too. Hope your best wishes come true. Like some of those were lots of them were FBI agents entrapping the other people who agreed to the plan. Well, if they're always doing this, to me, it's like our FBI is just a terrorist organization that carries out some plans or allows some of the plans they initiate and infiltrate or whatever, participate in. They carry out some of them and they bust some of them. But they seem to allow or carry out more than they stop or they encourage. I mean, they basically have to go to the left and encourage terrible things. Otherwise, they couldn't get anybody to do them. It's crazy and that's just exactly what they did. They have recordings of them doing that. So, if they do that here in America, they probably have agents in Hamas too, and they, the ones egging on or helping support the most violent or psychotic ones, which is really concerning when you think about it. Thanks for the likes. Really concerning when you think about it, that you just need to stop this whole network of using people, and they don't even care how many people, don't make it. They just use people for and use tragedies to start wars. And we can stop them. We can just say, hey, when you call it R9/11, there's a lot of problems with that. But a lot of people understand a problem with that to be, they interpret R9/11 to mean something we did or allowed to happen in order to go to war, which America's got a long history of that. They made up and attacked the Gulf of Tonkin in order to go to war. They made up, and there's a really old one of like Mexico and America, like maybe before Texas existed, or maybe, anyway, I shouldn't try to guess what it is because it was a long time ago and I've only heard this story back in school. But forces amassed on either side of, I guess, the Rio Grande River maybe, and there wasn't any action. Like the armies were there, but actually I shouldn't call it action, but there wasn't any fighting. But the armies were there. So some American soldiers swam over to the Mexico side to shoot back in order to get it started. I mean, that's a very simple example, but it's like, it's the kind of thing they do. And they've been doing it in like numerous wars. And you just got to stop doing it. Just stop making things up and attacking yourself or creating, of course, even Al Qaeda, even if you believe the whole thing about the planes of 9/11, that's the group that Reagan funded. What's his name? Osama bin Laden was the guy that Reagan funded him when he was fighting the Russians in Afghanistan, and called him a freedom fighter. And create, not just that, not just like gave him the money, but created the ideology, like the whole. What do they try to like demonize Islam by saying that because there's this strain that's a recent development, that's a terrorist, like not even a strain of Islam, I shouldn't even say that, but a corruption of Islam, like an offshoot corruption of Islam. But America created it. Like they went over there and pumped all this ideology into the Osama bin Laden crew, way back in the Mujahideen days of Afghanistan against the Russians, like as a proxy war against the Russians. They created this ideology. They promoted the clerics that would say that ideology. It's kind of the same thing they do with like Joe Rogan and stuff today in America. They promote these certain jerks who like ruin everything for everybody. So anyway, I usually close these down after about 10 minutes. I've done about 10 minutes, but I appreciate everyone. Yeah, this is my Antifa News brief recap. If you care to look That's called Antifa News Brief. It was my news show back on YouTube. I haven't done too many on TikTok. But if you just scroll through my TikTok channel, you can tell when it's me talking about something and when it's clouds and flowers. But anyway, thanks for being here on my channel. And like I said, I'll probably shut it down to keep it at 10 minutes. But this was a very successful one. Appreciate the likes and everybody being here, the comments. And again, I think the best thing we can do, there's magical things we can do, which again, check my channel or we can talk about it when I come back. And then the smart thing you can do is just talk about it in any way you feel like talking about it. Talk to your phone about it, like make a video, or duet something else, or just, whatever it is, that leave a comment or something. Just get involved in talking about it. And I think the main thing we need to talk about is remove Netanyahu, stop the war, expose that he's part of it. So, thanks. Love you. See you soon. Ow! Gee whiz, cat.